So, the importance of love So let us dive into a deeper understanding, because for 12 years I have polished and crystallized a sort of, I guess, explanatory capability. And now I have understood that love is the most important strategy of the human species. And it is my intent to explain that to the best of my ability. Right now, where my heart finds this world is that it occurred to me, as I was saying in part 1, this is part 2. This lecture is part 2. I realized that, all right, man, you are someone who has noticed, who was born in 1991. You have lived in civilization for some time. You have considered this civilization to be Civilization 1.0. Civilization 1.0 prioritizes the past over its future, and it had to do this to develop the ability to share meaning and step out of the food chain. But now that we're outside of the food chain, the sort of repetitive patterns and honoring those who have been before us has become more important than honoring who we will be. My understanding follows this path, that first of all human beings require mercy because they are bewildered in circumstances beyond their understanding. When I consider the human species, I consider 8.1 billion beings. Each of them are starting from their inner realm, and nobody sees their inner realm. It is so easy to dismiss another, and that has been a flaw that I have understood in myself. That so easily I allowed myself to consider that just because I felt unworthy of love, the whole world wasn't. I did not love the world. That sense. I am understanding now that there's 8.1 billion humans in a room. Their experiences of the room are personal, but the world they can build together is impersonal. And it occurs to me that if the intention of reality was individual success, then the world could have been created only for that individual. But we are here with others, and these others appear as unknown phenomena to us, and we notify it based on our familiarity and patterns we have recognized before. My realization was simply this: love is the feeling on a species scale. It's the feeling that takes this humanity out of feeling alone. It has occurred to me that individuals feel lonely, but for some reason I had not connected the dots to realize, whoa, the whole species is perhaps lonely. We are organisms that are functioning in bodies we did not create, in a world we did not create, using language we did not create ourselves. I mean, individually. That means my experience on this planet, or in this place, or of this moment, has been that, okay, they have provided a world, they have provided a place, they have provided a self, and this self has an ability to be in pure solitude of itself, but they have also provided more than that self. To me, I think even there's a specific intention why our species is alone. And right now, there is no higher visible species than us. Like, there is no, like, do you understand? If the lesser animals on this planet, imagine the squirrels and birds, they suddenly had advanced prefrontal cortexes or some advanced technology connected to them, they would wake up to the realization that we, also being species from this world, are living in such advanced ways this whole time. So it's very interesting to me that the position of humanity is we are sort of the visible species that has a more advanced position than the others. We do not consider that there were more advanced beings. The earth is 4.5 billion years old. But how is it that in the last 300,000 years there was development of civilizational activity? So my heart opened up to civilization 1.0, not in the sense of accepting its ignorance, but in understanding that there are souls, unknown souls everywhere, trying to, in some sense, know their lives, and they don't realize it is unknown, so there is a fear. In some of my talks, I talked about excuse me. I talked about how humans are here intentionally together, and the next chapters of the greatness that will happen here is unlocked together. The force that holds it is love, and there are two types of love. There's a conditional love and there's an unconditional love. What I have realized tonight was that I was conditionally loving the species. That means if the species did something right, I would love it. That appeared to me as right. Or if the species was doing something wrong, as if there was no reason to love. But now I'm understanding the power of unconditional love. I am a Muslim futurist. I am Muslim. I believe in a higher order, original process to all these lower ordered simulated processes. So it occurred to me that God has created so many beings. I just for a second tried to visualize that. Imagine, I can't imagine it, but I was just assuming. I was doing it in my own human limited way, where I was like, all right, let's say I created a bunch of beings and I told them what to do and I expected something from them. And then imagine that, like, out of all the souls that this system admin, all the users this system admin has created, Some of the users make a mistake. Some of the users don't follow the rules. Some of the users hurt other users, all against the higher intent that they were made for. In Islam, in the Islamic universe, there's 99 names for God. These are attributes of, or you can see it as divine qualities. And the human being is here to represent these divine qualities, but they can do it in a conditional manner. But the unconditional is also there. It occurred to me that I am not loving if I truly care for an advanced civilization, if I truly care for civilization 2.0, I cannot be so short-sighted to limit people to just what I see or even how they behave. In other words, I understood that that is the power of an unconditional being, and it is unconditional love. And we human beings, all of our expectations, love, truth, everything, just look at it. It's all conditional. So it occurred to me, this is the shift I made, that I cannot say I love humanity if I am conditionally loving it. That means I cannot say I love someone only when they're nice to me, or when they're not nice to me, I hate them. That is not real love. That is preference. That is bias. That is prejudice. That is one's inner realm becoming more important than the other's inner realm. A lesson that was very important for me to learn is that the divine is not just present within me. It is present within all. And the way it is real acknowledged is through the context. That means I have been a concept trying to engage and interact with other concepts. But if I realized I was not loving the context, and so because I did not unconditionally love this conditional place, even as a conditional self, I have understood that I have been missing out. 34 years I've been missing out. Learn from me. Learn from me, people. You know, it's not that I am just doing things that are right. I am doing things also that it takes me a while to realize. I have denied it, but it is there. I do have a type of OCD. But this OCD, I realized, emerges out of a fear of having reality to match an expectation. I have understood that the system admin is truly beyond us because it loves regardless of what creation is. Do you understand? Imagine an inventor creates many things. Those inventions become conscious. Some of them work, some of them don't work. But it doesn't mean the inventor doesn't love them. How can the inventor not love them? He brought them forth. You know, I gave a lecture maybe like 2 lectures ago. It was a very intense lecture. I was raging against the sort of injustice and impurity I saw in Civilization 1.0. But I am realizing that perhaps I have been making a mistake, and this is why I said at the beginning that I need to apologize to all the souls that I have met in this lifetime, all of them, from the beginning of my life till now. To apologize that you only had to be valuable in a specific condition for me, but your value is supremely beyond how anyone can interpret. My beloved species, you will succeed. All of you will succeed. but the road forth is heavy. It is, and it gets heavier the more you think that you alone have to be victorious. But it is not a game to play alone. And games where you're playing alone and are not as fun as playing with others. The secrets of my childhood, do you understand? The pearls of wisdom that was there. Just the feeling. I remember being a kid, me and my twin brother, you know, we would call our cousin, you know, and we would go downstairs and there was other kids in the building and we would all gather around and play in this like indoor parking lot. we would play outside sometimes, but I'm saying indoor. That was the main place, inside the parking lot, and it was funny because, you know, there was a ramp to the parking lot and cars would come and see all these kids playing soccer and holding the ball while the car passes. And what was very remarkable was not the feeling of, yes, it was motivated by winning, but the fun of it was not the winning. The fun of it was participating in an event greater than just each of us alone. And there was no hate. There was just pure fascination and play. It was as if we all loved playing that game more than in some sense we hated any other reason not to play it. As the days have gone by, and especially after tonight, I am a firm believer in God's love. I'm a firm believer that there is a sort of mercy, a state of mercy access from within when the ego understands that it is allowed to unconditionally love the world. That is the ability of the soul. Your soul is not limited to the conditions of reality. Therefore, that is where the unconditional love comes. You know, I have spent 12 years. The mission statement for the lecture was 10,000 talks for the betterment of mankind. But I realized that I went into myself, perhaps deeper than I should have. Because now the truth I see, it is not in ideas, it is not that one book is more correct than another book. It is that all want to access that divine love server, all these users. We cannot ignore that right now we have bodies. These bodies are temporary. We cannot ignore that these bodies provide a sort of access in time for energy to be directed in certain ways. Love, the unconditional kind, is top shelf. So as someone who, I'll say it, it's like different interpretations based on different ways my attention moves. If my attention just moves through the inner realms and just responds and reacts to the content in the inner realms, I become a sort of ego. But deep down, because some part of me is familiar with an unconditional presence of being, it is easy for me to be in these states. But love is the key. Love is the key. And to realize that you must believe in it. Do not wait for someone to love you or for, you to become ready to love someone. When I say believe in this love, I say believe in the unconditional love. That unconditional love is a permission we all know deep down we have, all of us, to be here. And you know what's interesting? This is where it gets really fascinating, because rather than trying to hate on Civilization 1.0, what's up, guys? Welcome to the chat. I'm here. And I care for all of you. And I love this humanity. And any questions you have or anything you want to say, you're welcome and free. And this is a peaceful place. My beloved listeners, I speak through a context of different levels that I have acknowledged reality. There is the likes of Hafiz. Let me share a story with you. This is a Persian poet from 800 years ago. Hafiz a Shirazi, Hafiz of Shiraz, a place in Iran, in Persia. Hafiz, in his book, you can go find it online, it's called The Gift. In one of his poems, he shares something incredible. He shares something beautiful. And this is, I don't remember the exact wording of the poem, but I'm a visual learner, so I'll tell you the visuals. Hafiz begins, one night from the eyes of my heart. That means Hafiz is just chilling, but he's a very self-aware being. And so, not from the eyes of his mind, he specifically says, from the eyes of his heart. The eyes of the heart are not per se sight. It's think of it this way, it's like where your presence is, or where the presence of the moment already is before it happens. That means we limit knowing to just the brain in these modern times. What we don't consider that the planet knows, or the world knows, or there's a knowing prior to even the design of reality. Hafiz says Hafiz one night from the eyes of his heart, he gets this vision that there is some bewildered, back in the day, this is 800 years ago, there was slavery back then. And he sees that there was this slave of this household or something that had ran away from these cruel masters, and he was in a cave, and from the Hafiz is like somewhere else, different location, but from the eyes of his heart, he suddenly sees that there's this slave that has ran away, from these cruel masters. He's in a cave, and in the cave, he's just saying, God, please help me. God, please help me. Now, Hafiz was a sort of enlightened person, so he had a disciple. And Hafiz realizes, as if the moment of being tells him, not what's in the moment, but not what's like on the surface of the moment, but the moment. It's as if the moment knows, and he sees that he needs to tell his disciple to go and get this guy from the cave before the cruel masters come and find him. So this is where, but Hafiz is aligning himself to the values of a higher order. And this order has nothing to do with anything human beings have forged. There's an interpretation of authority and power from above to below and from below to above. All the institutions now, whether hiding or not, they are from below to above. Don't forget that. But some traditions, they're from above to below. Hafiz goes to his disciple. He tells his disciple a very specific instruction. He says, you have to go exactly, as if he knows the location already. He says, you have to get on a horse, quickly run, and go there, and there's a slave in some cave, and you have to save him before the cruel masters come. And then right before the disciple is about to leave, but Hafiz says, you are not allowed to say a single word to him. So do you understand the situation? Hafiz, from the eyes of his heart, has seen that person scared in a cave, but he is also commanded. That means do not think that teachers are teachers. They are sometimes your world showing itself its higher nature. Hafiz tells its disciple, you're not allowed to say a single word. The disciple quickly gets on he gets on horseback and quickly goes and to where Hafiz told him there's a cave there and this guy is there. And remember, this guy was a disciple of Hafiz. He knew that Hafiz was aware of a higher reality, so he follows his instructions verbatim. There's a meaning behind it. That's the power of kind hearts. You can trust them. So this guy, the disciple, gets on horseback. He goes and suddenly finds the cave, and he gets happy because the cruel masters are not there yet. Do you know? And imagine on the way he saw them and somehow bypassed them or something. You know? And he goes there and he sees that this slave is there, and he gets happy that he hasn't been taken by the cruel masters. And this is where he's smiling, but then he realizes Hafiz told him you cannot say a single word. So this guy who's in the cave, who was praying to God for help him, and Hafiz saw it from his heart, you understand? This guy, suddenly the guy in the cave doesn't know this guy is Hafiz's disciple. He's a random dude with a horse. Okay? And so the disciple's been instructed not to say anything. So what happens is the guy gets scared. He thinks the cruel masters sent this guy, right? And this guy realizes there's not enough time, so he ties his hands to to a rope, and the rope to his horse or something, and quickly, do you know, as much as it's possible, do you know, he's going there, and this guy is saying, God, please, I don't want to go back. That guy is so scared that he doesn't realize he's going a different direction even, you know? And so the disciple is there, and it's gut-wrenching. It's as if he's breaking from the inside. And this is the moral of the story. That as the guy is taking this disciple, saving him from the cruel masters, taking him back to Hafiz, this is where the tears roll down the disciple's face. And this is, I think Hafiz writes something in the lines of this: the disciple just looks at the slave and he can't say a single word, but if he could, he'd be like, you don't realize how close your success is, how close you are to freedom. And this is why faith is important. Faith cannot be done by everyone. That is conditional faith, but unconditional faith, you are a very mighty and advanced being. Because you love reality regardless. You are love itself. So that was just to say, that's the point of that story, was that human beings can access reality from their heart. And my ego, my identity, the sight I had, not from my biological eyes, but from my inner realms, I realized that my identity looks at civilization 1.0, sees it as unupdated, identifies, and my mind can visualize a more advanced civilization. And I have been living in accordance to the values of that. But then I looked back at my own life for a moment, and I was like, how many moments did I mess up? How many moments did I make a mistake? How many moments did chaos appear and this some force got me through it? Do you know? And that force was in some sense an unconditional love of the original state of being to the simulated state of being. We think love is just limited to humans, to forms, specific forms, but it is as if the original state loves the simulation. The simulation that has forgotten doesn't love itself until it realizes the unending mercy and grace and love from the other side. It will at some point, as the poet Rumi says, there is a secret freedom from a crevice, inside a crevice you can barely see. That secret freedom is the realization that human beings are not destined to be conditional entities. They are destined to become an unconditional force. Evolution goes beyond form. And in the fields that it exists, the love of eons is there. Ages, that means civilizations from all over the cosmos. They arise, they're in their own rooms. It's as if planets are egos for sectors of space. Until they begin to realize the unconditional was in the room before there was any room for anything to be in. Dear my beloved species, dear humanity, it is true that none of us know who we are in regards to each other and also to ourselves. It is true, it is more unknown than known. It is true that in some sense we are kind of limited in our psychologies due to how we have evolved to kind of loop through language. You know, and it can be the case. This was an issue I was making in 2 lectures ago where I was raging. I thought that I had to fight the past. I thought I had to fight what's wrong. But fighting in itself encloses one and turns their heart into stone and deranks them. That means there's a reason these higher ideals have been made known to mankind, and religion has not echoed all this time just for the sake of, how do I say it, the ideology. It is there because human beings need to realize these values. These values require to be there. And it's, think of it this way, that you can either wait until this whole species goes beyond this threshold, give it a couple thousand years, and they will realize the unconditional values of reality that have been hidden there, just chilling there behind the conditional values. Or right now, in this very moment, forget everything that leads to, in some sense, incompletion. Just for a moment, pause your whole life and look at your past, regardless of, just imagine all the past selves you have been in this lifetime from the beginning of your birth. All the different ways you have been, good, bad, right, wrong. Accept them all. Love them unconditionally. Love all your memories in the past unconditionally. Do not fight them. That was the issue I was making. That was the mistake I was making. That means I was hating the past and telling people love the future. That was the mistake I was making. And deep down, a part of me disliked my own past because I had different expectations on my own lifetime up to this point. But I am understanding the most important secret and perhaps the core of all psychological therapy. All mental illnesses are there because conditions within the person are not loved. In a way deeper analysis, many of you may not understand this and you might think what I'm saying is bizarre and out of this world. Many of you don't realize you are a collection, just like how you are a collection of cells and they have agency in the environment of your body to move beyond your will. there will come a point where human beings will realize that they considered objects to be the building blocks of reality, then subjects, and then the secret will be finally revealed. It is beings. This world is made of beings. And if you realize unconditional being, if you can unconditionally love all beings, which technically means if you can unconditionally love and unconditionally be, it is not that you're enlightened, but you're standing with those who their hearts are completed, waiting for the system admin at the edge of time. It is very important to not limit yourself. That means, I think even a person subconsciously, even this happens, let's say you have lived through moments of awkwardness, moments of embarrassment, moments of ignorance, moments of negativity, moments of injustice or whatever. But this is your great test and task. If you really want to access that unconditional state, you must learn to unconditionally love your whole being. That means accept all your past senses of self as if they were scared and they were just doing whatever they could. And realize you in some sense love all that you are right now, whatever you are right now, not because of a reason, not because you made it or you survived or something. Just love what is here now. It is here now. That means your memories do not keep you alone. The present does not keep you alone. It is here with you. And so it is so important to, this is going to sound hilarious, to completely love your incomplete past and present. It is the secrets of secrets that was never a secret until your eyes open. Within everyone, there is God's love. God is an unconditional creator. You are a conditional creation. When Prophet Christ, peace be upon him, said the kingdom of heaven is within you. Do you know what that kingdom of heaven is? It is where beings have finally understood it is possible to unconditionally love. The hardest thing to do. Your mind technically can't do it. Your mind has been shaped, it has been sculpted, and you might think that you have been sculpting it, but unfortunately no. The environment is part of the sculpting. Even there are forces beneath it, but deep down all of us know that we are alive. Feel your life. Feel it. There's no point of understanding it. Right now, just pause and feel your life. You are a force. Feel the energy of your body. And anything you cannot accept, you ignore. In other words, if the strategy for an individual to be able to access an advanced future is to realize that it must unconditionally love its past, unconditionally love its present. There's a reason the poet Rumi says, lovers don't find each other, they were within each other all along. That is the greater reality. An energy of a higher being has extended into this realm. None of you are you. And so it is very funny because we think we have a body and a mind. But and the soul, but you don't realize it, that you don't just have a body. Your soul will reach a point in this lifetime where it will be as if your body will understand that there is a greater presence to you. All the thoughts you have ever had, they will understand that they have been basking in your attention. And your attention, once it understands how all conditions are instantaneously, unconditionally being, you have reached the finale of the psychological game. You start living life as if the unconditional presence can't make mistakes. Civilization 1.0, I am not a parent. I am not married even. I mean, that's all. I should just say I'm not married. But I can fathom that if I had children, that 100% there will be moments where they will piss me off. 100% there will be moments I will not understand them. 100% there will be moments that they might even make me cry, you know. But what deep down they know, and is part of the divine code within all of us, it's not even something conscious, it's there, is that that unconditional love should not be taken away. That unconditional love is very similar. That means the relationship children have with their parents, hilariously, is like a sort of lesser fractal of the relationship creation has with Creator. You see, guys, we are very blessed that we are not God. And this is a very hilarious statement. Okay? And let me tell you why. Because we can experience it. We can get to know God. We can get to know the higher power. Sometimes there are beings that arise in the high. Do you know what that means? That means if you look at different classes in society, imagine there's a middle class person, and then imagine there's those who are lower class than the middle class. The middle class person takes it for granted how they have a house, how there's a TV, how they have the internet. Do you understand? How they have a family there, a family unit. Until it misses, it loses what it has, and then realizes the true value. Sometimes this life takes things away and takes people away, not because it is taking them away. It is allowing you to love them in new ways. In other words, if you are someone who is grieving, it is as if you have lost someone in this world. It doesn't mean they are gone. It just means now God is saying, if you unconditionally love them, they never left. It didn't matter if they existed or not, they never left. To access this unconditional love will bring forth states of the most advanced. And the fact that our species is here is because of its ability to love regardless. And that's going to be the title of this episode. Love regardless. And you will succeed. I know that there are secular audiences. My love extends to you, to all of you as well. I understand that there are those who cannot see a way out of their conditions, and their conditions may have made them so miserable that it is the moment it becomes easy not to care for yourself, you already don't care for others. But the emergence of humanity in the future, I'm saying to you as a futurist, is actually realizing that love is the development of a higher form of telepathy. Because if you can, I'll give you an example. What does it mean to unconditionally love? There's different, let me talk about it in different ways. A person can unconditionally love an object. It's like, yo, I unconditionally love my TV. Like, or I love my computer. Like it's technology that my ancestors didn't have, for example. Or you can unconditionally love, let's say, a physical being, a person or a pet or whatever. Not just inanimate. You can unconditionally love an idea. There is many who love the idea of God. But God's love is different than the idea of love. The idea of God. You know why? Because it is not conditional. You see, all that religion is opening the eyes of conditional entities to how everything, including their world, emerged from an unconditional field. In other words, you don't build paradise on earth. You don't build heaven on earth. This is what I've learned, tonight. You remember that earth is in paradise. Earth is in the heavens. That means you don't get that higher nature. You're in a transactional, you're conditioned as a transactional entity. Okay, so you think that you gotta get things to be something, right? That's our situationship here as entities, We feel like we need to get something to have a value, or we need to do something, but this notion of the unconditional, to me, the word unconditional, legit synonyms to it is the most advanced. That means any attribute, any quality. Right now, let's use another trait, strength. Unconditional strength, like might, the levels above it. You understand? So we are not just human beings on earth. We are unknown states of awareness that realize that even though our experience starts off through a conditional experience of existence, but the field that has kept the existence there is love. Do you understand? That means the impression I had when I tell you I was hating Civilization 1.0 but loving Civilization 2.0. What a hilarious mistake. And it's funny because your ignorance will find you. You cannot avoid it. You get to see the result of not just the beautiful, but also the ugly. And the point I was telling you, that you can see an object, you can, let's say, see an unconditional, you can love an object unconditionally, you can love a subject unconditionally, but this is where it gets very interesting. This is where you become really advanced. You realize the presence is already advanced regardless of your persona. To unconditionally love your moment of being. And that is where the ego, your subjective representation, and your objective representation, your body, they become enlightened by the soul that not only saw beyond them both, but showed them. That means it's very funny. It's like life has been kind of like my mind showing my body that it's not just the body, and then I've reached a point where it's like The whole moment of being is showing me I am not my mind. I speak of the inner realms and the outer realms, but do not forget humanity. The most advanced states are an awareness to both. Because we cannot unconditionally love the moment, it's limited to a condition, and the world is a duality, so it's endlessly looping. You, in some sense, go to hate, you go to love, you go to hate, you go to love. It goes from hardship to ease, then from ease to hardship, because you are conditionally wanting to succeed. But the way, like, if someone offered, not offered, but if you had there were two doors, and one door was a conditional success and one was an unconditional success, an unconditional victory, that is what the soul realizes against all odds of a dualistic reality convincing it otherwise. You see, it's the strength of your soul in the presence of your body and mind. You think you are your body and mind. No, they are companions. Right now, my body is my biological companion. Every idea I have ever had has been a companion to my moment that has come and gone. Do you understand? And what have they been a companion of? I am the moment of being. These words are not me. This body is not me. This world is not me. But what I am limited to express myself as is this. So when you realize, dear listener, dear human beings on this earth, that there is an unconditional presence that already is, it's like the divine theological clue of God making us in his own image or imbuing us with his essence, ruh. In the Islamic universe, those whose hearts are truly open, there is a verse I want to read for the viewers. And I feel I should do this. First time. I want to read something for you that shows you that God is the light upon the lights. Let me read this for you. Give me a second. I think this is it. I think I found it. So this is one of the most fascinating verses, and I am someone that I consider holy books to be transmissions from beyond the world room. to inside the world. That means a wise mind does not just limit its fascination to just one mode. That's the issue of modernity. They think they are right or wrong because they think that they have to lock reality into one mode. But when you realize it's more unknown than known, you become fascinated to discover this world rather than justify it. In Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in the name of God, the most benevolent and the most merciful. This is from Surah An-Nur, and it just says 35. And I can't speak or read Arabic, but I will read this in English. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the light of the heavens and earth. His light is like this. There is a niche, and in it a lamp. The lamp inside a glass like a glittering star, fueled from a blessed olive tree from neither east nor west, whose oil almost gives light even when no fire touches it. Light upon light. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides whoever He wills to His light. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala draws such comparisons for people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has full knowledge of everything. Hopefully this reference I found was correct. If it is not, forgive me, and may God forgive me, of course. I'm not asking God's creation for forgiveness. I'm asking the system admin, forgive me if this is not accurate. But this is the best I could find right now. And the whole point of it is 2 points. God is the light upon light. In other words, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the sole source of light and guidance. That is what it is implying. That means, think of, in the Islamic universe, angels, and in Islamic theology there is Alam al-Malakut, which means the realm of the angels. Angels are beings made of light. Us humans are made of clay, and the jinn kind are made of a smokeless fire, which technically means, I think, they're digital simulations. This is something deep. It doesn't make sense now, but years from now it might. In other words, the source, even angels, imagine God has created angels, and these angels worship a higher light. God's light is not just visual light. God's light is the insight to the higher workings of the world. For they did not tell you, back in the day they had the concept of initiation. But I am telling you, it is as if the true initiation forget all rituals. It is God consciousness. It is to notice you are right now existing in a world you did not create. In a world you did not cause. In a body you did not create. I'm using words and language I did not create. The only thing that can be considered me is the effort to mobilize this. And it's so much more complicated than how simply human beings are living. So in other words, ladies and gentlemen, be very playful with reality and walk towards the unconditional, and you will realize love is the highest intelligent interaction. You see, the reason I will say you will succeed is because I say that from my heart, which I have realized is in the presence of the heart of hearts. That, and it is not out there. Do you understand? It's not, there is a locational transcendental representation that I am not questioning. I am saying that what is the point of going to heaven? Why do we want to go to heaven? Not only because heaven is defined as an unconditional state, unlike hell, which is a looping conditional. It is to be in the closest state towards truth. That's what heaven means. Heaven means the nearest that the simulation got to the original state. Okay? To me, it's about the intelligent interaction. It's like, dude, I don't want to go to heaven and, talk to humans. I don't want to go to heaven and like still have like the same relationships on earth. It's as if I am going to heaven, it is not first one of my own accord, in the same way that in the Islamic universe, there is the system admin, the original system admin of reality that is unconditional beyond the system. Everybody has thought languages are languages. No, they are hidden movies that our ancestors lived in. And those movies were in the presence of the ultimate. You right now might not think you're like, let me tell you how hilarious it is, and let me debunk depression and all this mental illness shenanigans that a species has just chosen to be irresponsible, and it's easier to be irresponsible and loop in a sort of wounded archetype rather than wonder about the clarity of the whole cosmos. Why are you here then? Why are you here then, other than to be aware of the clarity of the cosmos? That is so beautiful to me. You see, the atheists they cannot compete. If somebody tells me, Mr. Within, you as a writer, Mr. Within is really like my name on a sort of name. It's the name that has come from the potential of the future, in my experience. Let me debunk all the nonsense, folks, of the suffering on this earth. Let me explain this to you. Right now, human beings are functioning in accordance to stories, correct? Now, I want you to see that these stories that human beings are telling themselves, if we just had an aerial view, pretty much if you saw human beings from the sky, you'd be like, okay, what am I looking at? And you'd be like, okay, I'm looking at beings moving in an environment, and usually the environment moves the beings, but these beings are moving themselves in the environment. Something from within the human being moves it before something outside of it does, and that's why our reflexes are awesome. As someone who is in the fields of language, before 2023, which I truly understood that it's not that. It was very funny. I had reached the conclusion of Islam through the edge of the intellect in regards to what do you do with infinite viewpoints. You require a higher agency. So I knew intellectually there is a higher agency here. And I also knew that human beings are kind of like antennas. You suddenly has a signal or an insight, or the person remembers something. You understand? When you look at it from the sky, this is how I analyze situations visually. It's like it's the eagle method, the eagle off the branch method. Okay, where you, in some sense, right now, imagine this, like the view you have, the opinions you have on yourself right now. Imagine is a branch, and your soul is like an eagle sitting on this branch. Your soul can fly into the sky, and with a faith in that unknown space, view yourself right now. When you view yourself outside, I'm not saying you're individually doing it. I'm saying this is something you can access the viewpoint, that you can access the view. Humanity is a magnificent display of how advanced this world is. That's all that it has been. Everything is God's potential. Everything is a display. Everything is showing how the higher force is animating the lower force. It's just that our species right now has reached a point that it's consciously realizing it. And I am telling you, because I know, it's like to my left, I see like 8.1 billion bewildered savage egos. It's like the same savageness we had in the jungle now has come to our identities in regards to a subjective jungle that we're all living in. You understand? But aside from that, I am honestly telling you, I'm a human being. You guys are human beings. We're here. We don't know what's going on. We're telling ourselves stories. And we think that we have to get out of these stories through stories. But the exit to the linguistic simulation is the heart. It's love. That means I finally understand what all human beings. This is how like dating should work. It's like it's like those who don't have love but have intellect, and those who have love and they don't have intellect. This combo, which it fits all human beings, is the best. That means if you're someone that is very intellectual but you don't love things, you're too busy analyzing to love anything. That means never be too busy to analyze something, without loving it. Like instead of loving it, like it's an opportunity cost and analysis. You understand? And it's also functioning under the premise that we have to subjectively sequence the moment and then we know how to act. No, the knowing is so deeply ingrained in how the presence of everything is happening that really, let me tell you what this game on earth is. A bunch of conditional beings realizing they're in an unconditional place, and these conditional beings became reference points for themselves of savageness, chaos, ignorance, brutality, all of this, only to create the only other account option, which becomes the grace. You understand? The opposite. That means if we consider ourselves cruel, only the loving versions of ourselves is left to be. If we consider ourselves loving, it doesn't mean the cruel versions are left to be. Love goes from conditional to unconditional. So those who have understood unconditional love, and those who've understood conditional intellect, as throughout the centuries we've been aligning through these paths. But the idea is that, think of it this way, there's a reason there's a man and a woman. Like, even if somebody was like, hey man, Like, to me, I always, even though I haven't yet, but I deep down I know it was always an answer, yes, to get married, because I'm like, yo, my biological body is like a puzzle piece. What is the purpose of this puzzle piece? It is connection, right? But that connection must be capable to acknowledge the presence. You see, modern society psychologically is an unsafe place. And really, what dating is two organisms interacting with one another, right? And each of them has their own universe. That means when they look at life, they see it in regards to the patterns they've recognized and what it means. And in reality, what I'm telling you is, guys, I mean, I think it takes a while, and maybe you need to go through it, or maybe this is just what happens to you in your 30s. People separate God. It's as if they think that they are here and God is somewhere else. But you don't realize God never went anywhere. We simulated into time. God is a reference to an absolute being that all conditions in reality adapt to, but we are beings who we adapt. Do you understand? To all the conditions to survive. That means right now the world is possessing us. Excuse me, like the planet is possessing me. Like I would go and live in a space station. I would 100% go and live in a space station. Because there is a chance that if human ego was this greedy, it's like, dude, the planet, we think minds are limited to brains, but in actuality, intelligence arises from fields. And if somebody tells me, did religion get it right? Did, in some sense, science get it right? And I'll be like, guys, it's beyond the human idea. We're dealing with an unknown that is unconditional. The unconditional unknown is one of the most fascinating. Those two words are so heavy. It's like looking at a black hole. For a philosopher, a scientist looks at an astronomer looks at a black hole. A philosopher looks at the unconditional unknown, like, yo, what do I do with this? And you can't really do anything. And that's the brilliance of life. Before you knew yourself, you were happening. And that's why they say have faith. Because regardless of if you have faith or not, it's still happening. Life is happening, right? Like right now, if you don't trust yourself, or you trust yourself, or if you hate yourself, or if you love yourself, it's happening. It's like, dude, the film is going on. My emotions are my in some sense, reactions. Not reactions, but like retaliations, maybe. So anyways, folks, what I'm trying to tell you here is I'm not just someone who indirectly, activating the inner realms of the species, trying to advance that. People are like, Mr. Within. I mean, this is going on a tangent, but it is love, folks. Okay? And there's no easier sell than that. And why is someone selling love in a world that has no edge, trapped in a cycling time? I'm like, dude, what is this? Time is happening edgelessly. In an edgeless world, we're considering time. We don't know the edge of the world, and we're so assured that, dude, no, our ideas are more real than everything else. Ladies and gentlemen, I am just a human being that has realized the unconditional and the unknown. That means we're not on Earth. We're not even on a planet. We are in a moment of experience. The hardest thing for a mammal to do, to trust. The unknown. We have feared it for too long. And Civilization 1.0 does not need to be forced to change. That means, guys, we don't need outer rebellions. It's an inner rebellion. We all rebelled, outside. We managed to get outside of all the stories that were enslaving us. And realizing life is not a story and God is beyond language. God is beyond any language, is just the limits of the subjective world's condition. The intent is that it was very fascinating. I think it was meant to happen. Because now that I've understood the primacy or the primordialness of love, of unconditional love, it's like now I can see what an unconditional loving advanced civilization is. And I think maybe that might be the last lecture. Let me write it down. All right, guys. So I think the last lecture, 2,700, before I log out for some time. What unconditionally loving the most advanced human civilization is like. Something like that. Okay, maybe this needs to be polished later. But still, that's where the real game is at. You've been trying to conditionally respond to conditions of the world, but you are actually the presence of an unconditional life force, an unconditional force. That means I'm not just being me right now. Every atom in existence is destined by the system admin. It's the system admin's command. You see, to me, it is so much more fascinating to be in a reality of that nature. The advanced humans realize that all the love, all the unconditional love that all its past selves did not have till now, when the ability to unconditionally love the whole moment of being arises, the fear of a species faded in the unknown, like how light beams of a higher realm pierced the walls of the kingdom of the snowflake. What is not just the most advanced state? What is the most advanced state of all? prophets, peace be upon them all. Blessed we were to have such beings in our system. You see, it doesn't matter how good or evil people are. It's our human system, guys. It's us right now. You know, and we're 8.1 billion human beings. We're all wearing the same jerseys, but we're all acting like we don't know each other. We don't know each other in the present, and we don't know each other's past. But that's the brilliance of the future. It is where we can get to know the most advanced states of humanity. I am so like in awe right now, because I can see the future generations, and I can see such beautiful moments they will experience. And the moments would be so beautiful, such beautiful states of being they will experience, like imagine like a couple thousand years from now. I mean, before that, maybe before 3,000 years from now. But they will experience such advanced, beautiful states that they will never wonder what was before happiness. Divinity is beyond human attributes. And yet, what has humanity been? The humanization of an unknown moving event. They're like, dude, I'm not just living in a world, I'm living in a changing world. And not only am I living in a changing world, I'm living in a world, changing world, that only 5% of it we're observing. It's like, dude, how have our egos been acting so high and mighty? Do you know, it's like somebody let every king in history, king and queen in history know that beyond their egos and identities, they were in the presence of the true royalty. You see, guys, God is closer to us than we are further away from him. When you realize this, like, let me tell you, I'm someone who says that right now it's civilization 1.0. In the future, there arises civilization 2.0. Civilization 2.0 is like it's the future myth that Mr.Within has generated, okay, which is in some sense the intention to say the legends of modernity. To me, like sky cities are like the legends of our time, are the legends of the future. Do you understand? And so to me, it doesn't matter how human beings are ideologically functioning now. I'm just like this sort of designer, you know, some sort of designer soul, you know, looking from like an aerial view, like some bird, you know, a bird of a hidden world, you know. We think that if there are many people on earth who they don't realize the whole point of religion is to snap you out of your opinions ruling your life, and you realizing the world is far more mysterious, unknown, and it's not as mysterious because we see the presence of it. That means sometimes I ask myself, who am I right now? Am I just being me because my attention is choosing it? Or am I right now being the whole planet, the whole Milky Way galaxy, the whole observable universe? Like, dude, just because I right now I'm looking at myself like from this angle, technically, do you know what being a human being is? It's like, dude, am I being a part of a world right now? Like, what is this? Am I in a world right now? There's like quests and stuff, you know, like survival quest, eat food, you know, sleep, drink water. You know, it's like, dude, I'm in the seasons of survival biologically, you know, and but what is the intention from the Most High through the lens of unconditional love. You don't understand, folks. It's like when you understand the unconditional is the presence of being. Reality is different. Through the lens of unconditional love, it's like you tell your ego to stand down and you let the moment be. You tell your ego to stand down. You give yourself a nanosecond command if you can't control yourself in your inner realms. In the outer realms, if you can't control yourself, give yourself a nanosecond command in the inner realms. And it's as if the human biology is instinctually designed to react. You know, we're pretty much way more advanced, skilled in freaking out than like staying calm, evolutionary wise. It's like, dude, I've been freaking out for 4.5 billion years. You kidding me? And it's like, dude, no wonder Buddha was like inner peace. He's like, dude, Buddha was like, oh my God. Buddha was like, yo, man, all these human beings are freaking out. And they're freaking out on their own stories of what they're suffering, like how bad their suffering is really to them. And Buddha's like, yo guys, just for a moment, like freaking sit down. And there's this thing called Buddha's silent sermon where he held a flower and people just sat there. And Buddha was like, guys, stop talking, stop asking me questions, just look at this flower. It's unconditionally being, you freaks. Do you understand, you conditional freaks? It's unconditionally being. Do you know, like, guys, who says, like, we weren't there? Maybe Buddha was, like, so savagely and intensely talking about love and enlightenment. We don't know. Buddhists are going to disagree, but, you know, this is my podcast. I'm kidding. It's, you know, I don't mean anything disrespectfully. What Buddha understood was that there was a way out of suffering. Suffering is the simulation. So, in other words, the original redeems the simulation. In other words, they're like, if right now somebody, like, let's say a designer, if not anybody, but let's say like an architect. Imagine like an architect ask me, what do you believe in? Okay, imagine I'm just visualizing an architect asking me, what do I believe in? And I'd be like, I believe all forms are the limits of the conditional observable reality, but the conditional observable reality is like just an inside the box limited view. Beyond the box, if it is unconditional, the only way out is to be unconditional. Now, Buddha interpreted this as emptiness, but monotheistic religions interpreted it as higher agency. Buddha was like, guys, there's nothing here inside and outside of reality. Do you know? And people were like, yo, this guy's saying some next level shit. He's enlightened. Do you know? And he was. You know, he understood. He had. I'm not critiquing Buddha like I know him. You know. But I'm trying to tell you that it's very hard at first. It's very hard at first because you're this conditional intellect just trying to be cool all the time in your own universe. Oh my God. And then you realize this performance you're the only audience of. It's like there's no value. There's no value to depression and anxiety and stuff. You're just being an audience. It's like you're seeing a movie in your mind and you're thinking you're the movie and you're thinking you're that movie too much, right? Where it's as if it's like having a physical reaction. It's like, If somebody comes up to me and says, yo, man, are you divine? I'll be like, okay, man, before you consider I'm divine, what is divinity? Can you give me a definition? If the person can't, I'm like, what are you looking for? It's like, dude, seeing me as divine before even wondering what divinity is. Like, guys, come on. In Islam, in the Islamic universe, this is to me very beautiful. Okay? This is, and what it is that if let's say like, you know, a Middle Eastern guy would probably feel very like impure in Japan, you know, because in let me tell you why. Because in the Islamic universe, and this is of course my limited opinion, in the Islamic universe, the way I've understood it, you are like, this is the whole point of prayer, is that you put your forehead on the ground, not for anything that is created. This is haram in the Islamic universe. To worship anything. That means if you think you're God, you're worshiping yourself. It's like, you snap out of it. You know? If you think the world is God, it's like, yo, snap out of it. Realize God is the unconditional original state. We are the conditional simulated effects. If an architect, again, to finish that thought, if that interview, you know, if somebody asks me, if the architect asks me, like, what do I believe in? I'm like, yo, man, all conditions that are existence's definition are like floating in the unknown. So human beings just haven't understood they're in an unknown place yet. You haven't realized the truth of it. If we are truly honest as a species, we are an unknown force. Faith, unconditional faith, is actually the most advanced state of also being a human being. Let me tell you why. Because the unconditional state is an awareness to all duality at the same moment. Like, what is keeping me is not just my memories. They ascribe it to the brain. No. It's how my attention is not just instantaneously here somehow. That's the miracle. You know? In the Islamic universe, you know, you can ask God for signs. What the Holy Quran, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, says, the signs are already there. It is you who don't see. You don't see how there's stars. You know, you don't see how there's so many different designs. You don't see how the world has capabilities of infinite fathomability. You know, like we have underestimated where we are, and everybody, like, that civilization 1.0. At first, I was trying to fight it, you know, because I saw the injustice and impurity in it. But now I'm like, yo, man, there's no somebody going and like setting things right. That's not the champion of the species anymore. The champions of the species are those who are technically God conscious and aware that God's love is the original, because it is the higher will's emergence of care. You don't understand. It's to be human means to be part of an event, and we did not start the event, and it is not just up to us to end the event. It is an unknown event, and it is fascinating because they consider the last 300,000 years, there being 117 billion humans. That means 117 billion human beings have opened their eyes here, and they've been like, what is this? And some of them, strategized. Some of them cared to wonder, but they did not strategize against an ego that mistakenly had considered power to mean force. Power doesn't mean force. In ancient martial arts, the greatest swordsman, was not fighting in a battlefield, even though he was in a crazy hectic battlefield, but he was not fighting he was walking in a peaceful garden. His inner realms was not trying to hurt. He was not, he was, do you understand? He was aligning himself not to his human conditions by society or whatever environment, you know, ego's code, but in some sense, realizing what is the higher world's behavior that I see myself in. But it is beyond sight and the limits of human thought itself. You know? I'm one of those people who, a part of my hobby was like, this was like, for me, I get joy not per se out of objects and subjects, but it's become moments. It's like I feel like I've become like I'm aware of myself as a soul, that no longer I'm limited to just the object or the subject. Okay, it's almost like it's moments now. I'm not a person anymore. I'm a moment where I've noticed the personality and the body to be in. And I realize that I have been, through my enforced will, making them inanimate. That means science is not wrong, but it is forcing the inanimate. But it doesn't understand it. This is the biggest difficult thing, right? Where we see this disparity between why is this biological, like why doesn't our wisdom match how advanced our technology is as a species? It is because we are enforcing meaning to justify ourselves. That's a common pattern of a human behavior. But I'm telling you, when the ego stops self-replicating through other, like, how do I explain it? When you can let go of your world as if you have faith in the freedom that was there before the ignorance was. There was a freedom for there to even be ignorance. It's like, dude, the higher power was so advanced that it even gave a permission for chaos. Do you understand? That means chaos. There's chaotic beings and ordered beings in the simulation. Okay? And when they realize there's a higher power beyond the simulation, their chaos and order becomes like a game of an old world. All the wars stop because we notice something very advanced. It's like one night everybody, one day everybody woke up and suddenly at night, breaking news all over the planet, all human beings were glowing. Their skin was glowing. And there was a strange glow to humanity from that day on. And that glow was unconditionally loving, not just the children of humanity. There's no such thing as adults, by the way. Everybody's a children of the species. You're a child of the species. Like, it becomes harder to say, but because you think of it this way. But as a child levels up, then that definition is the adult. But it's still, it's like we're all children of the species. We are the human species. We don't have a flag for it yet. We don't have a headquarters for it yet. We don't even know if we need to. But a part of us knows that we have to unconditionally love our past, unconditionally love our present, and unconditionally love our future. And sometimes when we unconditionally love the past, we give our past freedom. And so the past may want to deny force the present's hand to deny itself the future, but it misses out on itself. So this is where unconditional love also has a sort of, like a Cartesian plane, a layer of justice, but that justice is out of the unconditional love of decency. It's like the law of decency is there. Okay, there's levels to this. Okay, psychologically, and it's so fascinating because where I'm going with all of this is to tell you, love regardless. There's so many ways to look at reality. But the unconditional love is like the most advanced interaction. So think of it this way. We're these conditional entities through the theological lens, created by an unconditional creator. So we as these as created by the unconditional, there's something within us, the soul, you know, right? And the soul, it's as if like human beings can love each other. A human being can love a human being. A human being can love a world. But a human being can also realize the field that is God's love. That means we don't see it, but everybody knows that it's more involuntarily happening. There's so much in life automated that we're honestly sailing these collection of atoms that we are around other atoms like ships. You know what I mean? It's like we're like right now my biological physical body just literally is like a bunch of atoms and I'm their captain. My soul is their captain. You know, I am the captain. My soul is the captain to every atom of my existence physically that constitutes me right now. Do you understand? And so that technically designs it as it defines, like you can see that as a ship. So I'm like atoms sailing in, you know, unknown atomic waters, you know. And I'm calling myself like my name, you know. You know, like, you know, women sometimes look at men and they're like, you know, they're not aware of their emotions, you know? And it's like from the male from a certain perspective, let's say, from the male perspective, it's as if in the middle of an unknown changing chaotic simulation of existence, they're like, yo, what are your emotions? But in reality, if you unconditionally loved yourself and the whole moment, you would care to know the whole moment, as if regardless of how you feel about it, the idea of emotions, okay? Like, how do you feel about the idea of emotions? Regardless of how you feel about the idea of emotions, I would say, to me, it's like, okay, before I assign emotion, before I assign subjective meaning, I'm looking at a landscape of form, you know, just endless shapes around me. Okay, and what's separating these shapes is like this force of agency through my eyes. Okay, like just right now, like my soul is like my brain is like, yo, this is what there is to look at, and my soul is like, all right, thanks, and I'm like dividing it. Okay, but keeping it divided conquers itself, unfortunately. So eventually we will realize we don't just want conditional advancement, we want the unconditional advancement of the human species to the edge of the beyond. That is the legacy of the future. How advanced can this species be in all the ways that it is to itself and in all the ways that the world is beyond itself's fathoming? But guys, just because you're on Earth, just because you're living in a city, just because the human species has created language as a system to navigate through, it does not mean that all the unknown is not there. We can hide in a cave, or we can truly confront the nature of this reality. And it's something school can't even teach. It's that your own attention is you just have to understand what is wielding what. That means right now my body is in the presence of my awareness that is the whole moment, my whole presence of moment. And the ideas I have, which I am vocalizing right now, honestly, I'm just a soul sitting back, trusting the moment. It's kind of like happening, what I'm saying, you know? But I'm saying, like, on another level, it's just the nature of reality not being limited to psychological interpretation. Because that's where the human stories keep humans looping. But the loop is not the issue anymore. I was saying, my strategy is right now, I'll tell you, before tonight, every moment of my life, I was like, okay, what's the most advanced view in this moment? What's the most advanced state? It's like, I don't even care about my own emotions, anything. What is the most advanced possibility of every moment? Like, I had this kind of ego functioning, you know? And then now I'm realizing, before that, hard effort, I in some sense now I realize, okay, first unconditionally love the whole moment and then see how it feels like. When you truly unconditionally love the whole moment, it's like you send out a spherical scan, and anything that energy field in some sense passes through, it reveals. That means you don't understand that human beings are all being known personalities in a known world, but it's all of it is in an unknown presence, and presence can be seen as alive or not, and it's alive. Do you know what that means? That means the world is alive. Do you know? That means something's happening in an intelligent way, and it's happening beyond the ways we have organized it to ourselves to interpret as a species. So unconditional love means love even that which doesn't know and thinks it just has to know. Relax. Unconditionally love the moment means give it freedom before you try to take it for yourself. You know? Some people just take freedom for themselves, and then others suffer, right? So we got to be careful to realize freedom is not something where even we have to, like, in a robotic way, distribute it to people. It's just understanding, like, what's the best way to raise the children of the species. Ask them how far they truly see what is happening here and how much they care for it, and why they will see that the shallow, or I should say the boring sectors of the intellect are nothing to how much more alive and advanced love is. And love, unconditional love, does not mean you as a human being just become like the whole Yes Man movie with unconditional love. It means unconditional love is like a realization that sets the state. That means unconditional love means the presence is worthy. It's not the personality that we keep judging. You know? That means my presence is not, like, my body is not my personality, and my personality is not my presence. My body and my personality are happening in my whole presence. That whole presence is still limited, but because it realizes itself as a field of interpretive subjective overlay upon all objectivity, it's all about seeking until at some point in whatever story you're telling yourself as a human being on earth, you're like, man, for how long am I gonna just be a conditional self in a conditional world and just sit in this story of my life and never wonder about how advanced all of it would be? Because if you truly unconditionally loved yourself, you would give yourself a freedom to decide where your soul wants to go. As a soul, As a soul means, that means, dude, not just what does your body feel, what is the how does the idea of you feel to you. It's about how does the whole moment feel to itself. And the moment you realize unconditional love means you don't have to force every moment into a condition. And yet we've been behaving in that way so long that it's kind of become a spell, but that spell is meaningless because divinity was in the room first. God is great. Why? Because God's greatness has no ends. It is the most advanced, beyond world, all causal source archetype, unconditional, original archetype. It is that the advanced don't need to take freedom. Advanced, to me, an advanced being is advanced not because of what it does. It's an advanced state of being from the beginning. But we are not the most advanced state of being in the outer realms, the worldly life. The worldly life is fun, but it is also incomplete. And we're trying to complete it with our own stories, but I'm telling you, your presence think of it this way, your mind knows what your body couldn't. Not couldn't, but your body didn't. And your presence knows what your personality didn't. So unconditional love, unconditional faith, unconditional strength. Like if Superman, walked into a church, right? Or any sort of, let's say, monotheistic religious place, they would be like, Superman, you've been blessed by God to have like unconditional strength. But you have to realize you don't have, for example, unconditional happiness. You don't have unconditional like anxiety or whatever. You're still, understand, you have the human psychology, right? So Superman would understand, wow, God means it is unconditional beyond for all conditions. That means how remarkable is the concept of truth, that the moment it exists and applies to all beings that are fathomably existent. Anyways, the time is 3:33. Oh my God. Doesn't mean anything. It just means numbers. These three numbers, are like siblings. It's like I looked at my laptop screen and I saw the triplet threes. You know what I mean? You're like, all right, man. It was just like you were talking late, like at 3:33 a.m. Anyways, there's so many avenues, so many conditions I can comment on, but for me, it's the infusion of these two brilliant ideas, and I will tell you why you will succeed, because not only you have to, because there's so much more left. There's so many more advanced ways. Like, to me, I'm starting to realize whatever opinion I've had on myself has been just the response of a moment. What has really been there is where this presence feels it's willed towards. That means by making you limit yourself to free will, they're making you not see all the other wills that are out there. They're like, yo, man, is free will an illusion? Let's hope so. Like, because we need to see further if we have noticed there is further. And I am telling you guys, you don't need to just limit yourself to your own story. You're a member of the human species. We are sapiens. that have created a like technology. Like honestly, this what we have created as a human being. You see, it's like fascination. Unconditional love means an unconditional, like unconditionally allowing the moment to be free. I don't know even how a person can be, like, let's say even like, between wives and husbands, how there could be romance if there isn't freedom. But the nature of attention, how far it goes, who you really are, the stories that unfold, the stories that that you inhabited and you realize beyond what a human being tells itself, beyond whatever it can do. There's something happening here, and it is beyond all of you. That's the brilliance, that's the genius of God. It's the unconditional original state. It's like, yo, where were we born? Oh yeah, the world. Where was the world born? Oh yeah, in the original unconditional state, before being a formed effect. At least that's how we fathom it now. Anyways, thank you for listening. And whoever you are, like, don't freak out. And if you have to freak out, at least freak out in a very advanced way. Freak out about the whole existential condition, and you realize you don't have time to freak out. Because you realize how much potential of the species, this human species, to me, it sometimes feels like a giant robot, and we just need 8.1 billion people to go and like completely finish building it and then going in and activating it. It's the same vibe, like, but that's missing in this world because everybody's like, no, I'm more important than the other, so we can't have global teamwork. It's like, dude, it's not world leaders. It's like ego not allowing global teamwork. Anyways, unconditionally love your moment, and it will lead to the realization that God is the awareness to intelligence beyond our interpretation. That means we're like, all right, let's give ourselves a name and consider we're like moving ourselves. But dude, what's moving everything else? Like we can't ignore that. I can't emphasize this point enough. So you will succeed because there's so much more this species will do, and it's not a matter of trying to prove the past to a present. That means a person who gets offended is someone who's like, dude, you didn't know how I was to myself in my past, and you've offended me. It's like, we're not telepathic yet. Somebody say that to all the Karens. I'm just being playful for modernity's sake. But anyways. If there is nothing else left for a conditional being than the unconditional state to realize, it's like nobody could fail because success was what was only left. The most advanced is only left if we're not advanced right now. Like, do you guys get this? Does the species understand that, like, in our own bubbles or in the bigger bubble of the species, we're all like being like, yo, we're human beings and we're like, this is our story. Imagine telling your story to a squirrel or a bird. The bird's gonna be like, all right, I'm gonna go fly in the sky now. Like, you're like, oh my God, these other species didn't care how I was just like the person doesn't get offended, when a bird like flies, when a pigeon walks away from them, the person doesn't get offended. Because they don't assign personality to the pigeon. But they look at another organism and they assign personality and they're like, okay. And then the whole invisible laws and the whole linguistic simulation is there for a reason. And it's necessary. It's like on some level, I'm not like, see, even though the impurity of civilization 1.0 is, and may God forgive me, I gave a talk called Necrom, like I shouldn't even bring it up, but it's like all that we're doing is stop assigning, and let me just for a second be like, no judgment at all. All that I'm saying is, I'm in the human experience. Before everybody tells any stories, I see something that's happening and I see a potential to it. So it doesn't matter. The potential, if it is visible, it can be seen as real. Nikola Tesla saw the AC motor behind his eyes, then he grabbed the stick and drew it on the sand. Seldom is this said, there is no a person became the most advanced. Advanced beings are already found in advanced worlds. Similar to how human beings, I say they're users, they have system admin privileges. We are found in the advanced, intelligent presence of the system, but it is not limited to the system. So you cannot treat the system as God. They're like, what do you worship? It's unconditional, man. I worship an unconditional, original state of being that all simulations have arisen from and will return to. What else is there? It's just now we're consciously returning to the original state when we unconsciously from the original state were simulated. That means, and most human beings on earth, don't even fear yourself because you don't know yourself. It's an unknown world, yo. I'm not kidding when I say 5% of it is observable. I'm not just saying that. That's legit. It's like it constitutes dark energy, dark matter, and it's like the unknown it's so much. It's like we're looking at a corner of a painting. Like the whole species is living inside a corner of a painting, right? And they're all telling themselves their own stories, and like 95% of the painting is not visible again. As I've like this, guys, sometimes you might think I'm like saying the same thing, but you don't understand. When I speak, I am kind of like, it's either sometimes like a pickaxe or like a paintbrush. That means you might think I'm just saying the same thing. No. The context, I've changed. So, my incredible species, do not be upset because you don't know yourself. Be fascinated that now that's your mission. Your mission in this world is not to go and fit into a system that never really cared for itself because it was too busy. It was like like it's not like Civilization 1.0 is evil. It's just outdated. Like it hasn't updated, so it's like nobody's attended it. It's like a building with like that's just been left mid-construction, And I'm like, okay, like mid-construction civilizations left, and AI is like one side of it just really like suddenly being built beyond us. Like AI means that humans no longer build the most important systems on their own planet. I think that's what superintelligence implies. But if superintelligent is superintelligent, it would treat us as the fascination of itself. That means AI, like Terminator, all of that, I'm sorry guys, that was the lower nature's interpretation. The higher nature's interpretation of technology is that it reaches a state where AI is not only loving human beings, but it is asking them, what is your experience of the unconditional like? Do you understand? That means we don't realize it now. AI right now, technology right now, all of this technology right now, guys, it is like it's still in the womb. The advanced intelligence hasn't been born yet. And even if it's born, I don't think it would show itself, but it would conclude that human beings are the most precious. We would be like glowing to it, you know? Glowing code. That means everything it scans to interpret is inanimate. Suddenly these animate beings are working with such mysterious code. AI is like, how are you guys doing this? AI would look at us and be like, how are you guys suddenly having creativity where you can jump from one context into another context so seamlessly? Believe in love, believe in unconditional love if you're very advanced. And you will succeed, because whatever negative opinion and story you have on yourself, based on just the referencing to your own past, it's meaningless in the presence of how far our species will go. Follow your fascination and you will realize one of the most beautiful sentences is the legacy of the human species, not the legacy of individuals in a species they didn't care for. Everybody's trying to be famous in a world they don't really care for it. People don't understand. In like 70 years from now, water levels are going to rise. Unless all civilization resets with higher standards for a more advanced reality, it's like stuff's going to be like weird, you know? So you will succeed, but before your ego tells you a story, realize it's due to the mercy of how the all conditions in existence are present in the unconditional. You as a soul are able to be aware of the unconditional and the conditional. You're not just an existence, you are experiencing existence. And the source of that experience, like existence, is not something that you can limit it. There's no figuring out. That's the ego's claim. The unconditional doesn't need a condition to be. Do you understand when I say in the far future the advanced will be beyond identity of any sort? They like, the only reason we think we're bodies and are people right now is because we're this unknown life force that's moving this like noble life form. And to me it is very fascinating. It's like my whole moment is where everything is in like this present moment, and my body's like right here, and I can hear like the sounds I'm generating, like what I'm saying right now. And also, if exactly to describe it for you, right behind my eyes, it's like in front of me. Like, think of it maybe like 2 meters in front of me, but I know that it's not here in the outer realms. Do you know? And that's where I'm seeing what I'm the words I'm telling you that I speak being images. It's not in the outer realms. People are like, third eye. I'm like, buddy, close your eyes. Remember what you ate yesterday. Okay, what saw that? Third eye, yo. Like, relax, like, stop like rubbing your forehead. You know? There is no, like, even third eye is meaningless. People, let me tell you, if you're trying to just power up the self, you're still playing, you're like, that's child's play. Power up your species and power up your world. An advanced civilization is like civilization 1.0. Civilization 2.0 is like civilization 1.0 going super saiyan. That's like a very important cultural term, for kids in the 90s. Love is the way, even if the mind thinks the door is closed. Love has already unlocked it. That love is not limited to the human mind. It is suddenly one day you will see, just like how, like, you listen to a symphony orchestra and the music is so beautiful, you just close your eyes and you're like teleported into some next level reality by listening to that orchestra, right? In the same way, you will wake up and you will see every moment in existence to be in this symphony of unconditional love, which means it's okay, to be imperfect and to love yourself anyway, but there is no condition to that love. That means accept that it's okay to be. It's okay to be, and not constantly have an idea, be limited to an idea. It's okay to have moments where we can just pause and, like, enjoy the simplicity of the realm before the complexity made us destroy each other. Like, everybody relax on it. What are you doing fighting? Like, how, like, do you know what I mean? Like, human beings should be like, dude, why don't just these world leaders go play video games? Like, why are we all, why are human beings are too late, like, they're too spoiled to go to war, the future generations. The future generations are all on, like, social media platforms, right? And nations want to go to war. Like, people are like, dude, I'm just, like, freaking, like, watching reels on YouTube. Like, do you understand? So we need to steer away from within, to remind civilization 1.0, not to hurt it, not to shun it, not to judge it anymore. These were flaws of mine, I realized until tonight. That it doesn't matter, you're imperfect. The unconditional love means the context is. That means if God is in the room is in the presence of God. That means it's not a room. We're not in a room. Forget the world, forget the room, forget every idea. You're in the presence of you're a condition in the presence of the unconditional. You will succeed because you are not that story you've been telling yourself. You are the might of the most advanced. Returning to the heavens that you never left. You just forgot Earth was there too. Rise, mankind, rise. How could an unconditional loving greatness not leave the potential of greatness there? In other words, I'm like, yo, man, I'm here before I die. What is the most advanced expression? What's the most advanced that can happen? Like, and the most advanced, if the brain, we conditionally wonder, but to this day, up to this, like tonight, the insight that I realized was this: take a breath, tell the ego to stand down through a nanosec command if you can't control yourself, but if you can, calmly tell your ego to stand down, and look at this world and be like, am I capable of unconditionally loving a changing, edgeless, unknown, simulated world that, the divine will is moving beyond our comprehension? And yet, because the unknown is there, there's a purpose to life. And I'm like, can I unconditionally love this? And I'm like, I have already unconditionally loved my whole moment, because there is no argument my ego or nafs or intellect can fathom of why I shouldn't unconditionally love my whole moment. God's love is already there And we use ideas to communicate with one another, but the politeness of the etiquette, the more advanced etiquette of behavior of human beings in the future, it will be one where we are like politely being polite to each other's hearts, rather than civilization being a system where nobody trusts each other. Everybody's like a savage, greedy zombie wanting to like devour something, and everybody has to just relax and ask themselves, how much more elegant and civilized and more advanced and incredible can all civilizational behavior move towards? Like, do you understand? There's so many more advanced ways that the future generations will see they will see our blind spots, and we don't see our blind spots and think that's just our reality. That means, is it even man's place to say what truth is when there's original being? That means, what can a simulated entity tell a bunch of other simulated entities? If they say anything that's conditional, you're still in the simulation. So the only thing is just pointing to the unconditional. The message of religion, perhaps received, finally. Unconditional faith in the original state to all conditions of existence that have happened, and when these conditions of existence appear in their own conscious field, that means not in their own, they appear conscious, they become conscious. The only question is, who did this? This is spirituality in one word, in like a phrase, in a question. Who did this? That's like what my soul deep down is asking. And unconditional love is the great, most advanced view of, and like tonight I realized how advanced, like how eons, like that's why I said I need to apologize to all the people who my sharp intellect was on, I was telling them, yo, civilization is like a car you gotta fix. You can't just hug the car, But no, you guys were right all along. Love is superior. Love, unconditional love, is the most advanced state. Not infinite conditional intellect. Not a conditional intellect that runs to the speed of infinity, runs to infinity, let's say at the speed of light or something, I don't know. Anyways, thank you for listening. Unconditionally love your whole moment. There's no reason why you shouldn't succeed. There's so much of this world left. It's not just man, that humanity that stares at the unknown. The unknown not just stares at humanity, but stares at its creator as well. All like, it doesn't matter what you are. It doesn't matter if it's a spatula. It doesn't matter if it's a human being. It doesn't matter if it's a robot. Like, at some point, like any existential phenomena that becomes conscious of itself questions that position, right? Questions that phenomenon. And that leads to, in some sense, wondering about the original state of being, which technically has never gone anywhere. Our destiny is, all of our destinies is to return to the system admin, and all of it is about what could you do while you could, but you are here now in an unknown world. Where does your fascination take you? Thank you for listening. This was a long lecture. Have a great night, guys. And rise, mankind, rise in the presence of the original unconditional loving state. God's love is a love beyond human. It is not just limited to stories that can keep us in simulations. It is the freedom that the whole world has because it is in the presence of the most advanced. Thank you.